Welcome to the Newsome MMA Betting Podcast, partnered with Concussion Pro 1, the world's first dedicated concussion supplement. I'm your host as always, Newsome, with my co-host John, and tonight we're going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night 136 from Moscow, Russia. How are you doing, John?
I'm very good, mate. Very good. Glad to be back. Looking forward to breaking down some fights.
Absolutely, the first ever card in Russia for UFC,
Yes,
which is going to be great, especially now they've partnered with, they've got some sort of dealer agreement with M1 Global to make sure that their fighters can filter through into the UFC, and I believe the other way around as well, although I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's definitely a great deal for M1 Global, for the UFC, and for the world of MMA. So I'm really stoked for this card. You know, everybody that knows me well knows how I feel about Russians, and this is just a dream card for me. Just a quick note for everybody though on the start times for the event. So the main card starts at 7 p.m. UK time, with the prelims and the start of the event kicking off at 2 p.m. So we get a nice Saturday afternoon card. Over the pond in America, that's then 2 p.m. Eastern time for the main card, and it's 9 a.m. Eastern time for the prelims and the start of the event. So just before we start, I'd like to remind everybody that the premium bets membership options from Newsome MMA are available, and they are on the Newsome MMA website. You've got the options of standard, bronze, silver and gold memberships, and these memberships provide cheaper prices per fight card for those who commit to slightly longer terms, opposed to purchasing my picks individually per week. You can find these membership options at newsomemma.co.uk/premium-bets. That's newsomemma.co.uk/premium-bets. So without further ado, let's break down UFC Moscow from bottom to top. And in your first fight of the evening, we've got Merab Dvalishvili versus Terrion Ware. So it's an interesting fight, John, and one that I actually, spoiler alert, really feel sorry for Terrion Ware with. So who have you got in this one?
Yeah, just before we get started and I break down this fight, I want to give a shout out here to, I spoke about this guy before, Jeff, off part of the UFC Fight Club. Guy lives over in America, and I mentioned him a few weeks ago. He was the guy that was sitting behind Demetrius Johnson on the plane back from UFC 218. This guy, he's nuts. He goes all over the place. He travels to as many UFC cards as he can. He was in Dallas at the weekend, and then he's flown over to Russia from America for a fight night card. He didn't have a passport or anything like that. So he sorted his passport, his visa, and everything just to go and watch the UFC debut in Russia. So I had to give a shout out to him first and foremost, because that is dedication to the cause.
Absolutely, that's commitment.
That certainly is, mate. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, first fight, like you say, you've got to feel sorry for Terrion Ware. He must have done something to upset the UFC hierarchy, because you look at the fights he's had in the UFC so far. Cody Stamann is solid compared to top 15. Sugar Sean O'Malley, big hype surrounding him. Tom Duquesnoy, excellent fighter, came over from Europe, and now he's up against another tough opponent in Dvalishvili. This guy, obviously, last fight we saw had that crazy finish. He was winning the fight, and then he kind of got, for about the last 45 seconds, caught in that guillotine and was flailing around. We thought he'd saw out the round, saw out the fight, only to be ruled a loss, guillotine choke. The referee deemed that he was out. He's very unfortunate with that one. Lost his opening fight as well, Frankie Sands, but I think he's going to win this fight. I think he's going to probably give Ware his marching papers as well from the UFC. Unfortunately, not many people go 40 feet in a row and keep their job in the UFC. But yeah, I think he's just going to out grapple him. I think he's going to out wrestle him. If I remember rightly, this guy was picked up on Dana White's looking for a fight. If I remember rightly, trains out of Matt Serra's gym as well. But yeah, I think he's going to be too much. I think he's going to take him down, and I think he's going to get the win, get his first win in the UFC. And like I say, unfortunately, I think it'll be goodbye for Terrion Ware.
Yeah, it's a strange one, because like you've said, it's a really, really tough opening 4 fights into a UFC career. And honestly, after he lost to Stamann and he lost to O'Malley, and I actually bet Tom Duquesnoy to beat him, which was, by the way, a really razor close fight. That it
It was, yeah.
It wasn't the one-way fight that I thought it was going to be, and so after the Tom Duquesnoy fight, sorry, before the Tom Duquesnoy fight, when I was breaking it down, I said, look, if he loses this fight, I think the UFC is still going to give him a fourth fight, because they've given him three absolute, well, I wouldn't say beasts, but they've given him three really good fighters. Like you said, Stamen solid, O'Malley, there's so much hype, and rightly so, behind him. Tom Duquesnoy is still got people, there's a divide in opinions on Tom Duquesnoy. I personally think he's an okay fighter. Just needs to sort his cardio out so he doesn't slow down in fights. But after that fight, I thought, you know what? He's been given three really good opponents. The UFC will give him the fourth fight. They might give him a little feeder fight, say thank you or whatever, get you in the UFC, and then we'll see where you're at, with of how you perform in that fight. Do you get a finish? Do you not? And go from there. But then they've matched him with Merab Dvalishvili, and I think Dvalishvili is going to be a really exciting fighter in the UFC and in this division. Again, coming off 2 losses, but he fought a veteran in Frankie Saenz, a fight that I actually think was a robbery. I've got absolutely no idea how Frankie Saenz ended up getting that win against Dvalishvili, and I don't like to use the word robbery. As much as others, I feel like that word's thrown around quite a lot. But when I use it, I genuinely, I use it with conviction, because I cannot understand. I'm sure he scored about 11 takedowns during that fight. Yeah, Frankie Saenz kept getting back up, but at what point in a fight do you keep getting dumped on your back like 4 or 5 times and still end up winning a round? It's just crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Ricky Simone, and Ricky Simone's a decent fighter, but again, Dvalishvili was winning that fight as well until that crazy bizarre stoppage. And honestly, I don't normally do this and sit on the fence, but I really don't have an opinion on that, on what happened. I sort of get both sides. So I think in this fight, not only do I think Dvalishvili is going to win, I think it's a really terrible stylistic matchup for Terrion Ware. We've seen with Cody Stamen's the Cody Stamen fight and Terrion Ware that he's very susceptible to get taken down, and that's what Dvalishvili will do. He'll keep shooting and shooting. Now, I don't think he's the best topside grappler in regards to keeping his opponents down. I do feel that his opponents can get up quite easily, and that's what we might see in the Terrion Ware fight, in this fight on Saturday night. But I just think it's going to be the same old. I think if Ware stands up, he'll get dumped straight back down. Dvalishvili is one of them fighters that he doesn't like staying at range all too much. He'll just close the distance on every opportunity and look for those takedowns. I don't think he finishes Terrion Ware. I think one thing that you can say about Terrion Ware, and to be fair, I was about to say the one thing you can say about him is he's tough, but the dude's a really fucking legit boxer as well. It's just that I don't think it matters in this fight, because Dvalishvili is going to level change at every opportunity and get the fight to the mat. Now, if for some reason Ware could keep it stood up, I don't even think it'll be close. I think he'd box Dvalishvili up for 3 rounds, but the fact of the matter is he's going to get taken down.
Definitely.
And it's really tough to see how he wins this fight. So I'm going to pick Merab Dvalishvili to win, and I think he gets it done by decision. Now, in the next fight of the night, we've got Ramazan Emeev against Stefan Sekulic. It was originally supposed to be Claudio Silva, if I remember rightly.
That's right.
The guy coming off the win against Nordin Taleb at, was it UFC Liverpool?
I think he could have been,
Yep.
That's his first fight in about 3 years as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He came in and he smoked one of, well, he didn't smoke him, but he got one of the best, well, not the best, but he got a really good, tough opponent out of there, and one that a lot of people were writing off as a sure thing for Nordin Taleb, and he ended up finishing him in that fight. So, who have you got in this one, John?
This one I've been pretty impressed with Emeev since he moved over from M1. He's got 2 solid wins. Sam Alves, he's a tough guy. Alberto Mina as well. I haven't seen very much of his opponent.
There's
from
not
what I've seen
a
of
lot
him.
out there for Sekulic, to be honest. I've seen really minimal stuff.
Yeah, he looks like he's got a good a few chokes on his record, about 4 or 5 guillotine chokes. I'm guessing that's probably strength, and that's something that Emeev will have to look out for. But I've got to go with Emeev on this one, just purely down to the fact that of what I've seen of him so far. I haven't seen much of his opponent. I've been pretty impressed with him in his UFC career so far, so I'm going to go with Emeev on this one.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same as well. Like I say, there is minimal stuff out there of Sekulic, but from what the tiny bits of tape that I have seen, he seems like quite an aggressive striker. Coming forward, looking to land heavy shots. But like you say, he's got a lot of guillotines on his record, and for someone that is a takedown artist like Emeev, I'm not saying that's all his game is about. I'll come on to that in a minute. But Emeev can and will look for takedowns in fights, so he does have to be careful that he doesn't leave his neck exposed there, because Sekulic does look like he could be a bit of a specialist with the guillotine. But then, how much stock do you put into the level of competition he's been fighting? Because from what I can see, it's more of the Serbian regional scene that he's been fighting
Battle
on.
Championship, I think he's been fighting on for pretty much his whole professional career. So what level that is, like you say, nobody knows.
It could be one of those things where he's fighting really, really low level competition. He's just got a call up from the UFC where you'll never say no. Now, on the flip side, it could be really high level competition. He could be fighting beasts over in that Serbian regional scene. Who knows? Serbia's a fighting country.
It's got some big guys over there
for sure. So you cannot be 100% sure with that. Now, what you can be sure on is Ramazan Emeev coming out here and performing, because he's a guy that I'm really high on. I cashed him against Sam Alves. I didn't bet him against Mina. The price was pre-fight. I thought the line was quite off, but watching that fight, he made Mina look so poor, and I actually think Mina's a good fighter, a dangerous, aggressive fighter, and he just absolutely tore him from start to finish. So I can't see a scenario aside from maybe a puncher's chance or a sloppy takedown where Emeev leaves his neck out that he loses this fight. I think he's too good. I think he's too experienced. And like I said, it's not just his grappling and his wrestling that's high level. His striking's really good as well. He's got he's got really good distance management also. He knows when to come out as well as when to go in, and then when to clinch up. And he actually did a really good job against Sam Alves, who a lot of people find him quite tricky to fight against, and you can tell that because he's got a really awkward fighting style as Sam Alves. And that was a debut as well. And really impressed with Emeev. I genuinely don't know if he gets the finish or not, because I've not seen too much of Sekulic's defense to make that decision of yes, he is gonna get him out of there. I think the fight primarily is gonna take place on the ground. I think it'll be with Emeev on top. He does have ground and pound. He does have submissions. At some point of the fight, I do think that given this is short notice and a UFC debut against an absolute legit Russian from Dagestan, my Dagestani-born Russian boys, I think he finds a finish on top, whether that be ground and pound or whether that be submission. I think I'll go for the sake of picking a method of victory. I'll go for a submission for Ramazan Emeev. And then in the next fight of the night, we've got what could potentially be a very quick fight, or it could potentially be the fight of the night. I think it's going to be good either way. We've got Jordan Johnson versus Adam Yandiev. So what have you got in this one, John?
Yeah, this one again. Adam Yandiev coming over, making his debut in the UFC, coming over from M1, fighting in his home city as well. Fights out of Moscow. From what I've seen of him, Yandiev, he's more of just a brute power kind of guy. His striking looks okay, maybe a bit sloppy sometimes, but he's powerful. Against similar on the ground as well, he can get fighters down, and he tends to just use his brute strength to dominate positionally. He's got a lot of chokes again on his record. Strong, you can just tell he's just a big, strong guy, and he's got an awesome nickname, just Beard. Fantastic, just Beard. Johnson, from what I've seen of him, he's a grinder. That fight with Adam Milstead, a lot of it was spent in the clinch up against the cage. He's just grinding Milstead down. He's got decent wrestling as well. He's got good wrestling. I think he's a NCAA
D1.
wrestler. Yeah, D1 wrestler.
Yeah.
So you know that he's gonna be strong in the grappling exchanges. I think it's going to go to Johnson. I can see Yandiev coming out like a bull in a china shop and going with that brute strength, brute power. But from what I've seen of Johnson and from what I've seen of Yandiev, I think Johnson will just grind him out, use that Division 1 wrestling. I think he'll play it similar to the Milstead fight, actually. I think he'll try and wear him out against the cage, minimise the risk of that power, wear him down in the first round, first 2 rounds. And then, I think it'll go the distance, and I can see Johnson coming away with the win.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going the other way. It's a fight that I've watched a lot of tape on. When all the betting lines come out, which by the way, let me just use this time very quickly just to say how bad these betting lines are. It's a really, really, really tough. It's a really tough card to bet, so much so that I don't think I'm going to have a free bet for you guys this week because I might only have one bet, and obviously that has to go to the people that are buying the premium bets. But when this line came out, it was actually playable on both sides to start with. So I went into tape potentially wanting to bet Jordan Johnson, and obviously I went in blind on Adam Yandiev. I'd not heard of him before, I'd not seen him, so I went to tape him, and the first fight that I watched was actually his last fight, which by the way was 3 years ago. He just came out like a train and absolutely just threw his whole life and soul at his opponent, and his opponent was tough. He sort of weathered a storm a little bit, and that tired Yandiev out. And instantly, I'm thinking, okay, right, this is a problem. So I had a look at Yandiev's record, and he's never gone out of round 1.
He's never gone out of round 1. Yeah.
So this is throwing up
getting that knockout or
yeah, for sure. It's throwing up red flags instantly because it's a huge unknown. But then I started watching his other fights, thinking, this guy must come out like a bull in every fight, and that's actually not the case. The last fight that he had, the first fight that I taped, that was actually the only fight that I watched where he came out really, really fast and really hard, going nuts. The other fights that he's had, he's been relatively patient, taking opportunities for the takedowns takedowns coming off the overhand bombs. To level change to get his opponents to put their hands up so he can get around the waist and take them down. So then I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe he's not as crazy as I thought, and can he get past round 1? But again, I just seem to be asking myself the same questions. Now, what I did notice about Yandiev is his striking isn't super technical, but his grappling game is really, really good. And like I've always said before, I have a really good eye for grappling and jiu-jitsu and the transitions that they make and things like that. And it all his grappling is really great, but it all stems from getting a hold of the neck. He's got loaded neck submission wins via neck crank. Yeah. And he seems, when he gets that neck, he seems to have a magnet for topside. So in one of his fights, a fighter took him down, his opponent took him down, but as he went down, he managed to get a hold of the neck and he kept it, and he got laid flat on his back, but he managed to get the sweep, and it was all because he kept a hold of the neck, and I think he ended up winning that fight by neck crank as well. The grappling's really, really good from him. Now, he's not fought for 3 years, as I've just meant. His last fight was 2015. Now, a lot of people have asked me, why is he out so long and things like that. I do have a contact in, who does a lot with M1 Global. So I spoke to that dude. I said, look, what can you tell me about Yandiev? He didn't know really too much either. So the guy as a whole seems to be a bit of an unknown, and it's really hard to make a pick based on that. You covered everything about Jordan Johnson. He's a D1 wrestler. He's a guy that can go the distance. He will see fights out if he has to. His striking's okay. His takedowns, like I say, are okay. His top game's okay. Now, what worries me from Jordan Johnson's side of things is he's coming down a weight class, and it's on about a week and a half notice. So If this was a full camp down a weight class, I probably wouldn't be putting too much stock into it. You'd still have to consider it for sure, though, because changing weight divisions can have so many catalysts of how you're actually going to perform. But coming down a weight class on a week and a half notice for a division that you're actually not that small in anyway, again, it's raising red flags, it's raising unknowns. So
yeah,
I'm actually going the other way here. I'm going to pick Adam Yandiev. I think if Yandiev comes out fast and hard and really makes Johnson work in the first round, we could end up having a situation where they're both tired.
yeah,
And in that situation, I would favour Yandiev because I think I think he'll get inside with his striking more. I think that he'll be the one that's relentless trying to shoot for the takedown when he's tired. We saw that in that first fight that I taped of his where he went really hard. He just once he was tired, he kept hunting the takedown because he didn't want to be tired on the feet. He felt like it almost seemed like he felt at home on the ground even though he was tired. Whereas Jordan Johnson, I think when he's tired, he won't be looking to grapple. He will be looking to jab and move and just slowly box up. So I actually favour Yandiev in that spot. But listen, it's a really tough fight to call. I think Yandiev's going to get him out of there in round one. I think he's going to drop him. He's going to hit him with a big shot. He's going to drop him and he's going to jump onto a neck crank. So I'm going Adam Yandiev to win via submission. Then in the next fight of the night, we've got a guy that brings back some really terrible memories for me. We've got Magomed Ankalaev against Marcin Prachnio. So who have you got in this one, John?
Yeah, I can imagine that Paul Craig fight, literally the very last second of the very last round, in a fight that he was in a fight that he was dominating. Just lapse of concentration, but he was definitely better than Paul Craig. Obviously the records will say otherwise, but he dominated Craig in that, and Craig was definitely on the way to a unanimous decision defeat in that before he threw up the triangle and forced the tap with 1 second remaining. Prachnio, that knockout loss to Sam Alvey in his UFC debut was brutal. I watched it back again today. He got rocked and then he was really strange. He just kind of like marched at Alvey like a zombie.
Terrible, man.
Yeah, he just hands by his side, literally just stormed across the cage to him. He must have been in another dimension because he got absolutely clocked on the chin and put to sleep. But yeah, I thought Ankalaev looked solid in his debut. Obviously, bar the last 5 seconds of the fight. I think he'll have enough. I think he'll take his opponent down. He took Paul Craig down several times. I think he'll take Prachnio down, and I think he'll wise up a bit this time, be a bit more cautious to not get caught in any submissions or anything like that. But I think he's going to come out victorious.
Yeah, I do as well, and yeah, Ankalaev, I think he's legit. I think he's a really good fighter. He dropped the ball against Paul Craig. He was winning 30-26 to a point where even one of the judges wrote down on a piece of paper, Ankalaev wins 30-26, and then you saw the picture afterwards where he just scribbled it out. After he lost, it was a third of a second, man. I know he tapped. I know it was quick, but he's a really, really good fighter, and I just think the takedowns are going to be hit all day long for him. Prachnio, I think, has got a Kyokushin karate style. I'm sure it's Kyokushin. I could be wrong about that, but I know it's some sort of
he has got a karate background.
Yeah, it's some karate background where so I just think that also plays into the hands of Ankalaev. I think he'll be able to work around that perfectly. I think he'll be able to get in and out with little 1-2s if he needs to on the feet, while he's gauging distance and gauging his timing for the shots. But like I say, ultimately, I think the takedowns are going to be there for Ankalaev. And he's also got really good ground and pound as well. He's got he's got a lot of finishes via ground and pound, and I think that's how he gets it done in this spot as well. So yeah, I've got Magomed Ankalaev to win via TKO, ground and pound, strikes on the mat at some point in the fight. I'm not sure when, but I'd be really, really surprised if Prachnio came out with a win in this fight. Then in the next fight, we've got a really interesting one. We've got Mairbek Taisumov versus Des Green now. This is a fight, I'll just say it right now, that I'm not 100% confident that it's actually going to happen.
You and me both, yeah.
I've got some, I've really got some concerns that basically the background of it is Des Green a couple of months, I think it was in August.
Yeah, last month, wasn't
He
it?
was involved in a 5-car pile-up over in America, and there's been different rumours floating about and different reports and things like that. So I'm not going to go too much into it because I don't know what's right, I don't know what's wrong, but he could potentially be facing some charges for the accident because 2 people died. So I'm not sure what happens because if that part's true, then surely he won't be allowed to leave the country, exit America, and fly over to Russia. So if he gets on that plane, the fight is going to happen for
Yeah.
sure. It's that bit that I'm unsure about, and I'm not sure when they're supposed to fly out. It's Tuesday, so it's Tuesday today, so I would imagine it would be
Any time now, I'd
yeah,
imagine, if
within the
not
next
before, yeah.
24 hours for sure. So we could find out pretty soon what happens. But who do you think's got the fight? Should it happen?
Yeah, you've basically covered everything that I was going to originally come out with that, because I'm surprised it's still shown on the as an active fight on the card. When I saw that news break last month, I thought, well, that's definitely it for this bout. But looks like it's going ahead at the moment. As you say, if Green gets on the plane and he's in Russia and he gets there, then yeah, I think it'll go ahead. But yeah, I'm very surprised that it still is going ahead, and it hasn't been pulled and maybe moved to a later date to find out the outcome of obviously whatever that investigation, whatever's going on, that side of things. But yeah, if Green does get on that flight and lands in Russia, I think he's in for a tough night, and I think Taisumov's going to get the win. I really like Taisumov. It pains me the fact that he can never get his visa for to fight over in America. I know he's been scheduled to fight on a number of cards over there, and he always seems to have visa issues. Hopefully that'll get sorted out soon, and we can see him fight over in the States. I think he's got the potential to challenge in the top 5 of the division.
Just to jump in there, again, this is something else that I see. I see a lot of people reporting on different things that happens with that's happening with Taisumov and the visa issues and,
Yeah.
and things like that. This is actually a situation I know really well. I'm not gonna leak anything out on a podcast, but a lot of people are quite far off with what they believe the reports are. So all I would say in this situation is just hold tight. It's not a worse, it's not an absolute terrible scenario, but it is one that's gonna that could just take a little bit of time. That's all. But in the meantime, he can then start taking cards like this sort of just outside of America and just around where he lives. So hold tight, everyone. I know Taisumov's a big fan favourite, but it is something that I believe will be sorted. It's just going to take a little bit of time. That's all.
That is excellent news because, like I say, I think once he gets over to America, competes over there, that'll enhance his reputation even more, and he'll really get that push from the UFC then. But yeah, I think he gets it done in this fight. He's got a brutal knockout power. I mean, that knockout of Felipe Silva in there, his last fight was absolutely brutal. And then before that, he hit Damir Hadzovic with that uppercut. Alan Patrick with the head kick and the follow-up punches. He has got a strong wrestling background as well, but I saw a quote somewhere that he just loves to throw hands, just loves to fight, doesn't really want to use that wrestling background. He's only interested in using the 2 bombs that he's got on the end of his arms. So I think Taisumov takes this. I wouldn't be surprised if he did get the finish as well. Des Green is pretty tough. He's got that unorthodox fighting like stand-up game. He's pretty unorthodox on the feet. He's got good wrestling as well, but I think Taisumov will be able to deal with that. And I think in the end, I think Taisumov will come out with the win. I wouldn't be surprised if he got the finish as well.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same, and do you know what? I really don't mind Des Green, and I think a lot of people, because we haven't seen Taisumov in quite a long time. I think a lot of people were just really anticipating him, coming back and getting the knockout win and getting that fight that's sort of given to him on a plate to send the jaw into Rosette. But Desmond Green isn't that fighter for me. Like when they gave him Des Green, I thought, actually, shit, this is good competition for Taisumov.
Yeah, yeah,
They didn't feed him to anybody. Now the problem I've got with this fight right now, first and foremost, and I already touched upon it, and then you followed up and you touched upon it as well, is the whole situation going on in his personal life right now and his life outside of MMA, because that's got
has
that's
to
got
play
to
some
mess with you.
factor, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's got to mess with you mentally. What's happened, taking into consideration the extent of what's happened. For me, anyway, it would play on my mind now in regards to MMA, where that translates over is your mental game in mixed martial arts, and especially in the cage when you're facing another guy that wants to take you out, and especially when that guy's Mairbek Taisumov, your
Yeah,
mental game has to be at 100%. You have to be able to fight at 100%, because if you don't, it doesn't matter how skilled you are, you're going to have deficiencies inside the cage. Now, Desmond Green might be that type of person where he can bury things and he can get inside the cage and be at 100%. Who knows? But this is what I mean. It's a red flag. It's another unknown, because we're asking questions that we don't know the answer to. The only man that has the answer is Des Green, and he's not. Nobody will ever know that. Nobody will know what's going off inside his head. So
yeah,
that's the problem I've got with this fight now. In regards to a stylistic matchup with Taisumov, I think that Des Green is one of those fighters where he's a D1 wrestler. He has that wrestling background. It's a little like the John Moraga situation, but he just
yeah.
doesn't use
Doesn't
it,
use
and
it.
it's like it's there and he won't use it. And I see absolutely no evidence that he's going to use it against Taisumov. But if he does, I'm telling you now, it's legit. The dude swept Rustam Khabilov in round three and ended up getting on top of him before that klaxon went. He'd already lost the
Yeah,
fight, unfortunately. But you know, his ground game's really, really good. Des Green's, like, don't sleep on it at all, and I think it's a better ground game than Taisumov. But I don't think he's going to use it. Taisumov, I don't think will give him the opportunity to be vulnerable to be taken down if he chooses to use it. He won't get taken down very easily either. Um, he's a beast. Taisumov's an
he
absolute beast.
definitely is.
I know he's strength and conditioning dietitian and nutritionist, which is all one guy, by the way. I know that dude pretty well. He's also the same guy that works with Alex Rakic, hence
Okay,
why
yeah,
I know him quite well. And what he's done for Taisumov is just remarkable. Because you see Taisumov back in the day against Prazeres, he hadn't really filled out yet. He hadn't really
no,
started hitting his potential from a skill set point of view. But now he's just got the entire package. He's been put together, and he just needs to really be let loose now. The UFC really need to do everything that they possibly can to start getting his name flying about everywhere, because he's one to watch for sure. I think
definitely.
at some point in the fight, he's going to hit Des Green. We saw Des Green was hittable against Gleison Tebow. That's Gleison Tebow that's a little bit older. Gleison Tebow that's post USADA. Gleison Tebow that is declining, and he was getting hit by a few decent shots with Tebow. Now, if they're Taisumov shots, I'm telling you now, Green's sleeping. I know he's
Yeah,
never been knocked out, but if he gets hit by Taisumov, I don't care who you are, you're going to sleep.
you're going to
So
sleep.
my
Yeah,
prediction for this fight is Mairbek Taisumov to beat Des Green by knockout. Then in the next fight, we've got another really unfortunate guy. We've got Rustam Khabilov against the unfortunate Kajan Johnson. This fight was supposed to happen at, I want to say, UFC Liverpool, although
yeah, I
it could
think
be
so. Yeah,
London. It's one of the two. It was one of the
one of the
English
two. Yeah,
cards. The fight got pulled. I can't remember why. Johnson got taken off the card. He got given Islam Makhachev, which was a really, really, really bad mismatch. And then after the loss against Makhachev, which we all predicted, um, they've rematched him with Rustam Khabilov. So again, another guy that I don't know what he's done to the UFC, but who have you got, John?
Yeah, like you say, you've covered it. Kajan Johnson, he's upset the UFC High Rock. I'm sure it was Kajan Johnson that I saw a clip of when he's been quite outspoken, I think, about the UFC as well. If I remember correctly, I'm sure I saw a clip of him go to shake Dana White's hand at one of the events, and then as Dana went to shake it back, he pulled his hand away, which didn't impress Dana White very much, which is probably why he's got these matchups. But yeah, I'm going with Rustam Khabilov in this one. I think he's just better. I think he'll take him down. I think he'll back him up against the fence. Kajan Johnson, he's tough to hit, as Stevie Ray found out. He's chasing him around the cage for 3 rounds. He's very evasive. He's good at avoiding taking the big shots and stuff. But I can't see any other winner than Khabilov in this one.
Yeah, and I think evasive is the right word to use as well, because he can be quite tricky and frustrating to fight, which definitely plays into his hands no matter who's in front of him. But ultimately, I think it is a mismatch, if I'm being honest. I think that Khabilov will get the takedowns. I mean, if Khabilov doesn't get the takedowns, let's just talk about that scenario first. If Khabilov doesn't get the takedowns, Kajan Johnson is going to win a decision here, because
he's going to outpunch him.
Yeah, he'll pop and move, pop and move, pop and move. He'll get Rustam Khabilov chasing him, trying to close the distance, desperately trying to get a hold of him, and ultimately frustrating him. But that's a big if, and I think that's also a huge mountain for Kajan Johnson to climb inside the cage. So I don't think it happens. I think that Khabilov gets the takedowns when he wants them. I've got a funny feeling this fight is going to be quite uneventful in regards to action and entertainment, because I think Khabilov's going to score 3 takedowns in the fight, and
just hold him down for the entirety.
I mean, Johnson might be able to get up. He might get up once, but I think by the time we get into the second round, when that first takedown lands in the second round after he's been taken down maybe once or twice in the first, I just feel that Johnson isn't going to get back up. I've got Rustam Khabilov winning via a very, very comfortable decision, unanimous decision on the judges' scorecards.
Yeah.
So in the next fight, we've got Petr Yan versus Jin Soo Son. Now, again, this is another short notice fight for Jin Soo Son. Petr Yan was due to fight
Douglas Andrade, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was Douglas Andrade. I forget, because there's been quite a few pullouts on this card.
Yeah.
But yeah, so who have you got? Who have you got in this one, John? Bear in mind, for me, I've struggled to find anything on Jin Soo Son apart from one tiny GIF, which I'll break down that 2-second GIF for you guys. You're absolutely welcome. So, who have you got, John?
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of Petr Yan. Watched quite a bit of him from his ACB days. He's a beast, as he showed in that in his UFC debut against Teruto Ishihara. Got that brutal knockout in the first round. He's only got that one loss on his record, and that's against Magomedov, who's a really tough opponent. Yeah, like you say, I've struggled massively to find anything on Jin Soo Son. I think he trains out of Chan Sung Young's gym over in South Korea. So if he's anything like the Korean Zombie, then we've got one hell of a fight on our hands. But purely due to the fact that I know a lot about Petr Yan, I like his style. He's a very crisp striker, very dangerous standing, and the fact that I've seen so little about Son, I'm going to have to go with Petr Yan on this one. I'm going with a finish as well.
Yeah, for sure. I'm exactly the same. I think Petr Yan's the full package, man. I think he's got good striking. He's got power in both hands. He's an expert in closing distance. He's got great takedowns, double legs, single legs, trip takedowns. He's got a solid top control. I'm going to be honest, I've not seen too much from him on his back, so maybe that's something to look out for in the future. But I've got absolutely no doubt that he's going to have a decent game off his back as well, considering that his entire game just seems to be complete. Trains out of Tiger Muay Thai as well, so Not only, like I say, has he got the Russian wrestling background, he's obviously legit on the feet, like I've already mentioned as well. You mentioned it, the one loss coming to Magomedov, who, most people are going to lose to a guy called Magomedov. And it was by a split decision as well, over 5 rounds. So absolutely nothing to be.
He got the win as well over him, didn't he? A couple of events later.
Another 5-round fight, which was unanimous. So
yeah,
he avenged his loss, which is always good to see as well, especially a guy so young. He's only 25. You lose to Magomedov, and then you come back a couple of fights later, and you beat him to a UD. So yeah, Jan's legit. He's the full package. He's got a really, really good future ahead of him. Like I say, only 25. It's really exciting times for Petr Yan fans. Now, Jin Soo Son. So, like I say, really hard to find tape. I did see a little GIF on him. The GIF was actually really, really crazy. If you can find it, I'll give a shout out on here. It's I'm sure it's, I don't know what he calls himself now. It's like Lord Honky or the Honky Extraordinaire. It's something like that. Just go and find that guy on Twitter. That guy's a human library for MMA GIFs, clips, and videos, etc. And it was actually him that posted it.
Okay.
And it was something on lines. It was Son, if I remember rightly. Bear in mind it were only a few seconds. So Son just ran in at this dude who he was fighting. They had a little bit of an exchange, and then Son just looked up. He had a big, massive smile on his face. He nodded his head. He dropped him, and then he just went crazy on him on the mat. So that's it. In a nutshell, that's what I've seen of Son. Now, if he's an aggressive, I try and take anything that I see, especially when I'm limited to research and tape. So if I'm dissecting anything from that, I think he might be a bit. I think he might love his job quite a lot. I think he might love a war quite a lot. It's not often you see a guy with big cheesy smiles in the cage whilst he's about to kill somebody. And I think that he's going to come off. I think it makes him look like he could be quite aggressive. Now I feel that all this plays into Petr Yan anyway, because if he's aggressive and he's coming towards Petr Yan, I think Yan will just drop down and take him down. Yan's not the type of person to just stand there and swallow shots while he's figuring out what to do. I just feel that Jan's going to have fought the better competition. Jan's going to have the better skill set, whether it be standing, whether it be in the clinch, whether it be on the mat. So I agree with you. I'm going for Petr Yan, and I think he's going to drop some, and I think he's going to just jump on him and rain shots down till the referee drags him off. Then in the next fight tonight, another short notice fight, and some may say that people are dodging CBDLife. So we've got Khalid Murtazaliev against CBDLife. So originally Dalloway's supposed to have been fighting Omari Akhmedov. Pulled out. So then they drafted in the M1 middleweight champion Artem Frolov. It was great to have another Artem in the UFC for as long as that lasted. Frolov, about 3 or 4 days later, pulled out through injury. At this point, you're thinking, nobody wants to fight CBDLife. And then up steps Khalid Murtazaliev. And fortunately, there's a lot of tape on this guy, so I have managed to grab some nuggets of information. I want to hear your thoughts, though, John. Who have you got in this one?
Like you just said, you're probably the better man to give your verdict on this one, because I haven't seen a great deal of Murtazaliev. He's got a lot of finishes, knockout finishes on his resume. So by the looks of it, he's got power in those hands. But apart from that, I don't really know a great deal about him. Dalloway's on a bit of a resurgence. Win over Ed Herman, and then that win over an aging Hector Lombard via disqualification, if I remember correctly. Didn't he punch him about 10 seconds?
Yeah, it was really bad as well. When I was rewatching this back the other day, it was a lot worse than I remembered it as well. So.
Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah, but yeah, like you say, people must be dodging CBDLife now. But yeah, purely due to the fact that I know a bit about Dalloway. I think he's solid. I remember watching that Michael Bisping fight a few years ago and thinking he actually won that fight. I might have to watch it back, 'cause I haven't seen it for a couple of years. But yeah, I'm purely due to the fact that I know a bit about this guy. we've seen him in the UFC. We've seen him face top level competitors in Lyoto Machida, Michael Bisping, Nate Marquardt, Tim Boach, Hector Lombard. Yeah, I'm going to go with CB Dollaway.
Cool. Well, I'm going the opposite way. Like you've said, you've not seen too much of Murtazaliev.
No, I haven't seen a great.
But I do think that Dollaway can cause him problems though. Like, I don't think it was going to be as one, because I mean, I taped Omari Akhmedov, I taped Frolov. At this point, I've now taped like 3 guys for CB Dollaway, and I genuinely think out of the 3 guys, CB Dollaway stands a better chance against Murtazaliev, but I don't think he gets it done. I think that Murtazaliev is going to be quicker on the feet. He's got really good and solid body kicks. I haven't seen so much power in his hands. I think that the record of 12 knockouts out of 13 fights might be, I don't know, a little bit deceiving in a way.
Okay, yeah.
But he does have a good takedown game, so he's got good double legs. His timing's well. His timing on the entries are timed well. But that's where I think that CB Dollaway might be a little bit tricky for him, because Dollaway is a legit wrestling credentials, and Dollaway also takes down most of his opponents that he fights. You know, I think
he does. Yeah.
Well, I can't really talk for people and other people, but for me anyway, I forgot how dominant he is in regards to his wrestling and his takedown game. I think it's just because we don't see the guy often enough nowadays. But
no.
I've just got a funny feeling that if Dollaway does try to engage in the wrestling, Murtazaliev will be able to reverse anything that's shot at him, potentially sweep on the mat as well. I just feel that his ground game is quite tricky. On the feet, he's got to be careful. I think it'll be CB Dollaway pressing Murtazaliev, but I think Murtazaliev will be popping shots while he's moving backwards. He's capable of doing that as well. And the guy's really young. I'm sure he's only like 23, 24. You know, if you look on Sherdog, it doesn't give you his age, same as Topology, and he doesn't have a Wikipedia page yet. But like I say, when I was watching tape, I'd noticed on the tail of the tape from Fight Nights Global that his age was popping up. So the guy's still young. He's going to be improving fight by fight. And I just feel that Dollaway isn't the fighter he used to be. I'm not saying he's on a full decline yet, because I haven't seen enough evidence to back that up. But he's definitely. I don't think Dollaway's going to be getting any. Well, I don't think he's going to be making massive strides in improvement. So I do feel that the longer the fight goes on, the more Murtazaliev will come into it. I think CB Dollaway might end up taking round 1, but I think Murtazaliev will grow into the fight and etch out a decision, which is where I see the fight going. So I've got Murtazaliev to beat CB Dollaway via unanimous decision. Then in the next fight of the card, which is on the main card, we've got Alexei Kunchenko versus Thiago Alves. Now, Alexei Kunchenko, it's been I think it's been a long time coming for this guy. He's 18-0. He's an absolute monster of M1. He's also the welterweight champion, I believe, as well. So
long-standing champion as well. I think he's defended the belt on quite a few occasions, 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, the guy looks really, really good, and he's coming in against another good fighter in Thiago Alves. Who have you got in this one, John?
Like you just covered, Wolverine, Kunchenko. He's a beast. He's got a solid Muay Thai background, as does Alves. But I like what I've seen of Kunchenko. Like you say, he's the M1 welterweight champion. He's held the belt for a number of years. He's got a perfect record. Thiago Alves, for me, he's still dangerous, but he's been on the decline for a few years now. I couldn't believe it when I saw that it was like 10 years ago nearly that he fought GSP at UFC 100. Only feels like yesterday, really showing how old we are now. But yeah, I think Kunchenko just does everything that Alves does, but he does it better. and I wouldn't be surprised if Kunchenko got a finish and put Alves away in this one. So I'm going with the former M1 welterweight champion. I'm going for Alexei Kunchenko in this one.
Yeah, and I'm going to join you there as well. I think that I think Curtis Millender exposed a lot of where Thiago Alves is right now. Because although I'm high on Millender, I think is a really solid fighter. I just feel that Thiago Alves could have done more in that fight, but he didn't, and then Millender, exposed some maybe holes in his game. I know he dropped him, so is his chin sort of slowly starting to digress? Who knows? But I agree with you. I think that if this fight stays stood up, though, I think we've got. I think Alves is the slightly more technical fighter in regards to shot selections and just being crisp and throwing the right shot at the right time. But I think Kunchenko packs way more power, which I think is a lot more dangerous. I think power is more dangerous to Alves than maybe a slight technique disadvantage is to Kunchenko. And I think if it does get tough for Kunchenko on the feet, let's explore that possibility. He'll just drop down. He'll use his wrestling. He'll take Thiago Alves down. We know he can be taken down and held down because Jim Miller did that for 3 rounds. When he needed to against Alves. Again, similar situation to what I've just described. Alves was getting the better of Miller on the feet, so Miller took him down for 3 rounds. I'm not saying Alves is going to get the better of Kunchenko. The guy's legit, but I'm just saying if he does, Kunchenko's got a plan B and a fucking solid plan B in his wrestling. Ultimately, I think he's going to go for that, though. I actually think he might strike for a bit with Thiago Alves, get us all excited, and when Thiago Alves thinks, great, I've got a stand-up fight, I think that's when Kunchenko's going to level change, take him down, and go to work on the mat. And I think Kunchenko's going to get a finish on the mat. I think he'll finish him with strikes, maybe up against the cage. Not so much that Alves will go out or be knocked out. I just think that the referee will need to save Alves and get him out of there if he's not defending himself. So I've got Alexei Kunchenko to win his UFC debut by beating Thiago Alves via TKO. Now in the next fight, we've got Andrei Pitbull Arlovski against Shamil Abdurakhimov. So it's an interesting fight. Who have you got, John?
Yeah, this is an interesting fight. Obviously, we've got Arlovski, the former champion many years ago, coming into the fight off the back of that Taisumov decision loss, which I actually thought he won. He's very close, but I think he may have just edged it.
I've heard a few people say that, and at the time I was covering an event made for the Cage up in Sunderland.
Okay.
And weirdly, I fell asleep for 2 fights, and then sparked straight back up and watched the rest of the card. But one of the fights I missed that night was the Arlovski and Taisumov fight, and after hearing a lot of people saying that they thought that Arlovski should have won that fight, I watched it, and I do disagree.
I haven't watched it since. At the time, I remember thinking, I think he's done enough to win this.
It was 1-1 going into round 3, and Arlovski was winning the fight, winning that round 3 in a pretty uneventful round 3, but he was just edging it. And then towards the end of it, Taisumov exploded with some decent shots, caught Arlovski a few times, and I think that's ultimately what won him the fight because it was the most action, that happened in that round. So just digressing a bit, but there is mixed opinions for sure, because I know there's people out there that will have an argument for Arlovski winning. So
but there's a lot of talk obviously all the time that Arlovski's got a glass chin. His chin's gone completely, but when you actually look through that 5 loss streak that he had, he got knocked out to Stipe Miocic. We all know what a dominant champion he was. Alistair Overeem finished him. Again, Overeem is an elite striker. And then obviously Francis Ngannou landed that massive shot that finished him. And those 3 guys are elite strikers with heavy hands. Since then, he's fought Junior Albini, Stefan Struve, and then Tuivasa's got heavy hands himself. He landed some clean shots on Arlovski's jaw, and he saw the fight out. So I don't think I think he does get a bit of a hard time for that chin of his, but it always seems a bit weird with Arlovski. He always seems to turn things around. I remember when he was on that little streak where he beat Antonio Bigfoot Silva, Brendan Schaub, Travis Brown, Frank Mir, and everyone's like, "Oh, Arlovski's back." And then obviously from then on he went on a five fight streak without a win, and then he got back in the win column against Junior Albini, Stefan Struve. A lot more technical decisions, not quite the wild Arlovski that we used to know. And I think that's what we're going to see from him again. I think it's going to go to a decision. And I think Arlovski's going to edge it. I think he's going to outscore Abdurakhimov. Abdurakhimov, I was very impressed with him actually in his last fight against Chase Sherman. Finished him early on in the first round, but he landed multiple left hooks. He's finding that left hook on Chase Sherman over and over again. Eventually, he landed one too many and he got the stoppage win. And against Derek Lewis as well in the main event back in he was somewhere in New York State, wasn't it? I think, if I remember rightly, back in 2016. He looked good for the first 2 or 3 rounds. I remember thinking, oh, he's got the better of Lewis here, but then Lewis did eventually finish him in the 4th round. But I think it'll go the distance. I think it'll be quite a measured affair. I don't think it'll be particularly wild action or anything like that. I think Arlovski will just play it smart, fight the way he did against Junior Albini and Stefan Struve, and an 8-point Abdurakhimov, and get the decision win.
Yeah, see, I'm going the opposite way. I'm going Shamil Abdurakhimov, but I mean, let's just talk about Arlovski first, because I actually think he's going down a similar route to what JDS has done, except JDS does it a lot better nowadays.
Yes, definitely. That's
than,
good.
than what Arlovski does. You know, he's turned an aggressive style into a point fighting style, which works. I think when your chin starts to decline a little, but then that brings to another point, and I know you touched upon a lot of points. I actually sent a tweet out earlier. I think it was last week or something, when I was watching tape. Now, I think Andrei Arlovski's glass chin is the most fraudulent thing in mixed martial arts, because I'm telling you now, that dude has led us down a fucking garden path with that chin, because we all think it's terrible. We've all been betting against him like for the last 2 years at least, because we think it's terrible. And he comes up against Junior Albini, and I bet Junior Albini inside the distance in that fight, because the fight prior to Arlovski, Junior Albini was the first man to knock Timothy Big Dick Johnson out in his career. And to get to I mean, I can't, off the top of my head, I can't remember Johnson's record. I think he'd fought anywhere between 10 and 15 times. But to have those sort of fights at heavyweight, especially the majority of them in the UFC, and not be knocked out is just incredible. Albini came in, Albini knocked him out. Like I said, he was the first man. You're thinking, okay, Diaper Guy's got some heavy hands on him. So then he fights Arlovski, and I'm thinking, fuck me, you know, he's just knocked out Timothy Johnson. There's no way Arlovski's chin holds up in this fight. Fuck it, Arlovski, it's like he was a different, you know, I was watching a different person. He won the fight, but he was getting cracked as well. And I'm thinking, how is Albini not knocked him out? How has he knocked Johnson out, but he isn't knocking Arlovski out? So that got me completely baffled. Then to the Stefan Struve fight. Now, Stefan Struve doesn't hit that hard anyway, and Arlovski scored like 3 or 4 takedowns in the fight. That was his game plan there. Smart, but we didn't see his chin tested too much. But the bottom line is he had another UFC fight. He didn't get knocked out. Then he fights Tai Tuivasa, and you're thinking, he's going to get knocked out. Tai Tuivasa's a powerhouse. He's actually quick for his size as well. You know, brutal knockout power. Yes, Arlovski got dropped in that fight, but he fucking popped straight back up and carried on like it didn't even happen. And it's like, at this point now, I'm thinking, you cannot think that Arlovski has got a glass chin. Can he get knocked out? Definitely. But so can any heavyweight, and so can any fighter in mixed martial arts when you're getting hit with 4-ounce gloves. Now, it's hard. It's sort of hard to trust Arlovski's chin again, but I'm just getting to the point where I do, and I know I'm making a big thing about the chin, but listen, when everybody believes that someone's got a glass chin, and then it turns out that they might not have a glass chin, it sort of raises a question and a discussion point that you need to talk about. But moving on to Shamil Abdurakhimov, I think Abdurakhimov has got a good style to beat Arlovski. What Arlovski's been doing lately with his point fighting, he's been baiting his opponents in, so they've been the one leading, and he's been countering off those fighters that are being the aggressor. But Abdurakhimov isn't so much an aggressor. I'm not saying he won't have moments coming forward in this fight, but I think he'll prefer to either just meet in the middle and it be sort of a little bit neutral, or even step back on the back foot slightly a bit. And he's got a good counter left up. We saw that against Chase Sherman, one that he ended up knocking him out. Like you said, he hit him with a few times before he landed the finishing blow. He's patient. He doesn't like to go first all the time, and that's where Arlovski really has a lot of success against his opponents at heavyweight, because he lets them go first and counters off them. Now, if all this isn't working for Shamil, and actually letting Arlovski come forward isn't paying dividends, and Arlovski is having the better of him and is being first to the shots and just out voluming him, Abdurakhimov could revert down to his wrestling now. We haven't seen it too much in regards to spanning over X amount of fights, but Abdurakhimov scored, I think it was like 4 against Derek Lewis. I know he got finished in that fight, but the bottom line is when you're getting a big man like Derek Lewis down, you know your takedowns are okay. Now, when you go back and watch that tape, the takedowns kept coming off kicks, which obviously Arlovski doesn't throw a great deal of. Having said that, still, I think that if he wanted to get Arlovski down, he could do. We saw Tybura take Arlovski down round 1 and round 3, I believe, in their fight. I think that if Tybura's getting Arlovski down, I think that Abdurakhimov could too. Overeem also got Arlovski down as well, and Overeem is more known for his K1 and his kickboxing prowess opposed to his wrestling. So there's all little signs for me that I feel like Abdurakhimov could have success either in his counter striking, or if that isn't working, he could maybe take Arlovski down. And he was holding Derek Lewis down as well, so I feel that if he gets Arlovski down, Arlovski might not be able to get back up off his feet. But either way, I don't think that Abdurakhimov's going to knock him out. I'm gonna roll with the fraudulent glass chin in this one. I think it was. We have all been led down a garden path. I think that his chin isn't actually as bad as what we all thought. I don't think Abdurrakhimov's going to knock him out, and I've got Abdurakhimov to win a 3-round decision on the judges' scorecards. Then in the next fight night, and this is one that this is a great fight. I think it's a real sleeper fight. I think it's going to be enjoyable. I think it's going to have everything that we're going to want to see in an MMA fight. We've got Jan Blachowicz against the returning Nikita Krylov. So who have you got in this one, John?
Like you say, Nikita Krylov returning to the UFC. Spent some time away fighting, obviously on Fight Nights Global. Couple of fights on I think on the Ukrainian regional scene as well. I was extremely disappointed when Nikita Krylov left the UFC in the first place. I thought he got real potential to shake up the light heavyweight division. Quite randomly as well, my other half, she was also very disappointed because for some strange reason Nikita Krylov is her favourite fighter. I think we watched him back in, it's probably about 2014 maybe, when the UFC came to London, Gustafsson against Manoa, and he was fighting on that card, and he got a good finish on that card, and she was just like, he's going to be my favourite fighter from now on. So she followed him intently from then on in. So she was very disappointed when he left the UFC. So she's very happy that he's back as well. But yeah, I really like Nikita Krylov. I think he's dangerous everywhere. He's got some heavy hands. That head kick over Ed Herman, brutal. That was brutal. He's got submissions in his locker. I am a fan of Jan Blachowicz as well. He's got good boxing. He looked really improved in his fight against his last fight against Jimmy Manoa. He looked decent actually in the first matchup between those two. But yeah, he looked much better in the last outing against Mano. I don't know whether Mano has declined slightly or whether Blachowicz is just getting better, just improving with age as time goes on. But I think Krylov, the returning Nikita Krylov, has got enough in his locker to win this one. I think this one will go to a decision as well. Blachowicz is tough. He's hard to finish. But yeah, I think Krylov will get the win. I think it's some much needed blood in the light heavyweight division as well. I think he'll make a march immediately towards the top 5 and towards a challenge for the title.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm gonna say right now, one fight that I would really love to see is a win. If Krylov does get a win against Jan Blachowicz, in October we've got Alex Rakic fighting Devin Clark. If Rakic gets the win in that fight, man, I'd love these two to step in the cage together, because
that would be a great fight.
yeah, it would be awesome. But that's looking a long route down the road. But it's interesting you mentioned this. You're thinking this fight's going to go to a decision because Krylov's record when fights go to a decision.
Yes, yeah, not good.
He's 0-0. He's never been to a decision.
Gone to a decision. Yeah, sorry.
So
Blachowicz, yeah.
Yeah, win or lose, it's going to be interesting. But ultimately, I agree with you. I cashed a plus 185 underdog with Jan Blachowicz in his last fight against Jimmy Manuwa. And in fact, since the Devin Clark fight, a fight where I lost money, by the way, but I didn't realise that Blachowicz had just transitioned into this resurgent beast, and that's what we saw in the Devin Clark fight. Jan Blachowicz looked completely different to what we'd seen for absolute years from him. He was always sort of that fringe top 15 guy, but suddenly he's had this resurgence, and now he's sitting pretty at rank number 4 in the light heavyweight division. Like you said, he's got good boxing, he's got good pressure, he's got decent kicks as well. He's got good takedown defense. His wrestling is okay. His topside grappling, maybe not so much. His opponents do tend to get back up. We saw with Jimmy Manuwa, he got back up pretty quickly when Blachowicz was shooting the reactive doubles against him. But I'm favouring Krylov in this fight, and the reason being is I just think that his kicking game might cause a lot of problems for Blachowicz. He's not gonna be standing in front of Blachowicz to be hit like Jimmy Manuwa was, like Devin Clark was. Devin Clark wanted to close the distance at all times to make sure he could try and get that takedown. And Jared Cannonier as well. He's more of a boxer, so he was stood in front of Blachowicz to be hit.
Yeah.
Nikita Krylov isn't like that. He's always bouncing. He's always on his toes. He'll fight backwards if he needs to. Can get himself stuck on the cage sometimes. It'll be interesting to see if that happens in this fight. If he does and he starts getting hit with some straight shots similar to what Serkinov dropped him with, then I do worry for him for sure. But if he circles away and angles away from the cage when he gets backed up there, because I think he will get backed up there, he's going to be fighting on the counter. He's got to angle. He's got to get out of those situations against the cage, but I think he can do it, and in doing so, like I say, I think he's going to be throwing a variety of kicks at Blachowicz. That'll do one of a few things. That'll either it'll halt Blachowicz's attack himself. It could end up backing Blachowicz up a step when he's coming forward, and it could frustrate him as well. And I think that's the key in this fight. If Krylov can be evasive, throw kicks on the counter, really be darting around the cage and making Blachowicz chase him, then that'll definitely have a welt on Blachowicz's cardio, a cardio that doesn't seem as bad as it used to, but it's still going to take something out of it. And I think he could frustrate him, and I think if he ends up getting Blachowicz frustrated, it should be sort of, light at the end of the tunnel from there for Krylov in regards to just holding out and getting the decision victory. But I'm with you again. I think that it is going to go to a decision. I do not see Krylov knocking Blachowicz out. Potentially a submission if Blachowicz does close distance and does look for a takedown. He could get a guillotine or lock up a guillotine sweep and lock up another submission from top. And this is the point. I think Krylov's just got a couple more paths to victory in this fight. Whereas Blachowicz, for me, He's got to get in boxing range, stay in boxing range, and he's got to land straight shots, which is possible. You know, this fight, it won't be a one way fight, but like I say, it's a fight that I really do favour Krylov with. I think that even though he may not have fought the greatest of fighters when he left the UFC, he's still experienced. He still fights under his belt.
Yeah.
Chance to train and hone his skills. Now he's back in the UFC, and I think he's going to get back on the win column. So I've got Nikita Krylov to defeat Jan Blachowicz via decision. Now in the main event of the evening, and a fight I'm really, really looking forward to as well, we've got Mark Hunt versus Alexei Oleinik. So who have you got in this one, John?
Yeah, like you say, Mark Hunt, Alexei Oleinik. This is classic striker versus grappler. We know what both of them are going to try and do. Mark Hunt's going to try and keep it standing, throw those bombs, hope to connect on the jaw of Oleinik and get the knockout. Alexei Oleinik, he's a beast on the ground. It's ridiculous how many Ezekiel chokes. A choke as rare as the Ezekiel choke. It's in the UFC. And in MMA in general. It's like ridiculous how many Ezekiel chokes he has on his record.
It's 11 Ezekiel chokes he's got. And just a quick one with the Ezekiel choke for anyone that is unsure. This is primarily a jiu-jitsu choke performed when grappling with a gi. So basically the gi helps the choke. And that tends to be what either makes people tap or pass out. So the fact that he's got a technique to wrap an Ezekiel choke up in MMA where nobody's wearing any clothes apart from the shorts is super impressive, man.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. He's an absolute beast when he goes to the mat. It's very, very dangerous if he goes there. Mark Hunt, he's going to try and keep it standing at all costs. We saw in his last fight against Curtis Blaydes, he got taken down and held down by Blaydes. Blaydes was also landed some decent shots standing, but I don't think many of us has to worry about Hunt's chin in this fight. Hunt's got that iron chin, and Alexei Oleinik, I don't think he's got that knockout power to worry him. It's going to be on the ground that he does all the damage if he can get it there. I've been very 50-50 about this one all week when I've been looking through the record, looking to what I think's going to happen. Ultimately, I'm going with Mark Hunt in typical Mark Hunt fashion. I think he will, over the course of the fight, land a heavy shot, a heavy enough shot to put Alexei Oleinik away. We saw in the UFC 217 for Oleinik against Curtis Blaydes. Blaydes was lighting him up. He landed some heavy bombs. Oleinik didn't get knocked out or anything in that fight. That was quite a weird stoppage, if you remember it. Where
the toe to the ear put him out, man. He was nearly asleep.
It was a toe to the ear of a downed opponent, and everyone thought that Blaydes was going to be disqualified off the back of that, and there's all this back and forth with the judges and the referees and everything, and eventually Blaydes got the win for doctor stoppage because Alexei Oleinik was a mess.
And the right decision, by the way, as well.
Yeah, it was the right decision because he barely flicked him, so it would have been a massive injustice if Blaydes would have been disqualified for that. But yeah, eventually I do think Hunt will land one of his signature. I think it'll be his signature uppercut. I think Oleinik going in for the takedown. I think Hunt will catch him, rock him, and then eventually put him away. But it's no given. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see it go completely the other way and Oleinik take him down. We know Hunt can be taken down. I wouldn't be surprised if he did take him down. And then he's very dangerous. Like I say, he's extremely dangerous. One of the most dangerous guys on the mat in the heavyweight division. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if he went completely the other way and Oleinik got latched on a submission and got the victory. But yeah, I think it's going to be Hunt. I think he's going to put him away at some point over the course of the 5 rounds if it goes that far.
Yeah, I agree. I've got Mark Hunt too. I actually don't think Oleinik can take him down. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions and also stat deceiving numbers as well is Mark Hunt's takedown defense. So
yeah, he's got a better defense than a lot of people give him credit for.
yeah, like Blade's got him down 10 times. You know, Brock Lesnar's obviously got him down. I think Stipe Miocic's got him down as well. A lot of fighters have got Mark Hunt down to the mat, but it doesn't. This is one of those situations where stats and tape. Well, one of those situations where tape is vital because it just doesn't reflect what the stats show. So even in the Blades fight, yeah, I think Blade scored 10 takedowns in the fight, but the majority of those takedowns sort of came in the second and third round. But let's be honest, when you're scoring 10 takedowns in a fight, that's because your opponent's getting back up constantly.
Exactly, yeah.
Which kept tiring Hunt. You know, Hunt's not got the greatest cardio, but. And initially, when Blades was trying to take Hunt down, we all know how fucking legit Curtis Blades is. He was just shrugging Blades off, you know.
Yeah.
He was defending takedowns, he was shrugging him off. And then you go and look at Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis tried taking Hunt down. Hunt was shaking Derek Lewis off, and Derek Lewis is a big dude. Frank Mir was another one as well. I think Frank Mir tried to take him down. He was seeing the shots coming. He was seeing the takedown shots coming early. He was making the right adjustments when Frank Mir tied up. He shrugged him off when he was hunting for, no pun intended, hunting for the legs. Hunt was seeing it coming and he was getting out of the way. I think Hunt's takedown defense is actually okay. Yes, he can be getting taken down, but it's got to be by the right opponent, and I don't think Alexei Oleinik is the right opponent for that. For a start, Hunt's got 25 pounds, or he's going to have roughly 25 pounds over Oleinik. That's at weigh-ins. So how much Hunt puts on after that, you know, we don't know. He weighs in at the heavyweight limit of 265. So Hunt could end up having like around 30 pounds over Oleinik. It's going to be a very big task for a guy that also hasn't got a good gas tank in Oleinik to really commit to these takedowns and to actually get Hunt down. I don't see it unless he moves forward and somehow catches Mark Hunt off balance and shoots a takedown and gets him down. Then I really don't see it. And even in that scenario, I feel that it's quite doubtful because Hunt plods. He's flat footed. You know, he doesn't have the sort of the bouncing movement to sort of allow himself to get off balance. So I think it's going to be a fight that primarily takes place on the feet, which obviously now it's favouring Hunt. Now let's talk about the hypothetical situation that the fight does go to the mat. I think Oleinik will find a submission, but again, you know, people will say, oh, you know, Mark Hunt's been sub 6 times. Yeah, he has been sub 6 times, but these were all sort of from, well, not all of them, but a lot of them were from like the Pride days, and when he was primarily
back in,
he was
2010.
primarily a K1 kickboxer. You know, he wasn't interested in the ground game, but as he's grown in mixed martial arts, he's had to learn the ground game. His takedown defense wasn't great, but that's something that he's worked on. He's improved. His get up game obviously wasn't that great, but again, that's something he's worked on and that he's improved. Still, having said that, if he does get a flat on his back in the middle of the cage, I see Oleinik subbing him, but I just, for all the reasons that I mentioned, already, that I just don't see that happening. And then you look at the fight on the feet. I think that Oleinik throws wild overhand bombs, but they're not bombs with any sort of power. And even if they did have power, like you've already mentioned, Hunt's got an iron chin. He ducks with every shot, every big shot that he throws. He puts his head down. His striking defense is awful, and I think you can only do that twice against Mark Hunt. First time you'll think, shit, did he actually just do that? The second time you'll think, fuck yeah, he did that, and then the third time you go into sleep. So I think the maximum amount of times you're going to be able to get away with a striking mistake as big as that is twice. And let's not forget, this is a 5-round fight. Now, I've mentioned that Mark Hunt doesn't have the best cardio, but this fight is perfectly tailor-made for him because he doesn't have great cardio against fighters that really put the pressure on him, really put the pace on him, like Curtis Blades did. Derek Lewis, we saw Mark Hunt go 4 rounds, absolutely no problem. Why did he go 4 rounds, no problem? Because Derek Lewis wasn't pushing a pace. Is Oleinik going to push a pace? No, he's not. So I just think that if Mark Hunt needs to go 5 rounds, if for some reason Oleinik can, the fight stays standing and Oleinik can make it 25 minutes on the feet with Mark Hunt, and he doesn't get knocked out, Mark Hunt will win a decision. I also think the longer the fight goes on, the less likely the takedown is as well, because I think Oleinik's got sort of maybe 7.5 minutes in him before he starts tiring himself. Remember, like we've already said, he's got 11 Ezekiel chokes. That's 11 submissions, but this is Alexei Oleinik's 69th professional mixed martial arts fight.
It's absolutely crazy.
And the guy's 41, so yes, he's relatively old and he is younger than Mark Hunt, but man, he's got 69 fights under his belt. In regards to the age in the fight game, Mark Hunt is a lot younger than him. So yeah, I think he's got 7.5 minutes of danger. Mark Hunt, he does have to be careful of the takedown. A couple of other people have mentioned about pulling guard with the Ezekiel choke like he did to Junior Albini. I've studied this Ezekiel choke. I genuinely think Mark Hunt's fat neck is going to save him here. I think that his neck's so big, man, and the Ezekiel choke requires you to have a decent grip around the neck. I don't think Oleinik's gonna be able to do that. And if you actually look at Mark Hunt's submissions as well, I don't think he's been submitted by a choke. I think they're all like arm bars and stuff.
Bars, yeah.
I like Mark Hunt in this fight. I think Mark Hunt's going to find the knockout. I don't think it's going to be round one. I think Oleinik might be trying to get him down in round one, but ultimately I don't see it. If he does and he subs him, I'll be quite surprised. But yeah, I see Mark Hunt knocking him out maybe round two. So yeah, I've got Mark Hunt to win via knockout. And that's all she wrote for the fight breakdown, guys. So for the bets this week at UFC Moscow, don't forget to check out the premium bets from Newsome MMA and the membership options available too. And also never hesitate to contact me if you have any questions or inquiries. Now, for the extremely quick Newsome MMA 2-minute plug. First of all, I'd like to talk about Concussion Pro 1, who are partnering Newsome MMA. Concussion Pro 1 is the world's first dedicated concussion supplement supporting brain health and performance. This product is honestly groundbreaking and there isn't another supplement on the market like it. The unique formula that makes up Concussion Pro 1 has been developed and created by some of the world's most decorated sports scientists to help protect and support the brain and its performance. It's approved by the UK Mixed Martial Arts Federation. Concussion Pro 1 provides some amazing support to the brain. It increases mental performance, faster recovery from injury, reduced inflammation post-impact, improved neural protection, and much more. With professional athletes such as Alexander Rakic, Mark Diakese, Scott Askham, and also taking on some other athletes from the UFC now. Using Concussion Pro 1, you can already see how vital the product is, not only for MMA, but for all combat sports. You can find out more information by clicking on any of the banners on the Newsome MMA website, or go to concussionpro1.com. And secondly, please check out the sponsors of Newsome MMA, which is CBDLife UK. As I've already said, I'm a great case study for CBD. In the MMA gambling world, people often talk about sweats and nerves as they're watching the fight that they bet on fight. These feelings are absolutely real, trust me. And because of this, I vape CBD to help relax me on fight night. And if I'm honest, I didn't think it would make much of a difference, but it really does. And I'd honestly recommend it to anybody, especially MMA gamblers. You can access the offers from my sponsorship by clicking any of the banners on the Newsome MMA website, and you can also get 15% off your first order by using promo code Newsome MMA. So, John, your turn, man. You're up. Plug anything you need to, bro.
Yeah, as always, if you want to find me on Twitter, it's at MMAme. Quite active in the obviously in the MMA community on there, so hit me up at MMAme. You can also see a lot of my work on Fight Post. You can find them on Facebook, just searching Fight Post, or alternatively you can go on the website fightpost.co.uk, and also MMA UK. Again, they're on Facebook, Twitter, or the MMA UK website. So that's where you can catch some of my other work.
Awesome. And that's it from us, guys. Enjoy the fights on Saturday night.